I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome to everyone for this first meeting of the year, and we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remove your hat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an agenda in front of us. There are two items to remove. One is the alternate authorization teacher to new for Lindsay Murray. We're holding that until the next meeting. And the minutes from the December 14th meeting, we're holding those till the next meeting. So with those amendments, I'll hear a motion to approve that agenda, amended agenda.
I move that we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion passes. We have public comment. Don't know who's up first. So it looks like Barb Schreiber. Hello.
Hi, I wanted to welcome back to the board the returning members and welcome the new members and tell Mr. Albertson you're going to be sad. It'll be tough shoes to fill. But I just wanted to share something that was new to me. Some of you know me from the elementary school and when I was involved in some of the elementary school stuff at Northside. And I just want to share something I thought was really interesting. So Sandpoint Middle School has a ski and ride program. So last week was the first day. They get to go up to Schweitzer. The kids get to go up to Schweitzer if they do everything that they're supposed to do and stay in good standing with their classes. They get to go up, I think it's 8 weeks on Wednesdays. And I offered to help to chaperone them. And I just wanted to tell you, I was just so impressed with all of the parents that were chaperoning in middle school, because you see in elementary school the kindergartners and the first grade parents and the second grade parents, and then as they get older it kind of dies off. But I think there were 14, 15 parents up there chaperoning. It was the first time they had it all lined up. Everyone kind of knew what they were doing and helping each other out. The kids were doing great, and to see those kids who'd never ever skied before get a chance to ski. And it was just something I thought, as a parent who's been in the district for 8 years, to say, even at middle school, the parents are still involved, the kids are still engaged, the community is still offering opportunities for these kids, and to see these kids who've never skied before get to learn to ski and how excited they were. It was just wonderful to get to see that again. And I know from years past, you guys have heard me talk about what I got to see in elementary school, and it was just really great to see that we still have the parent engagement and the kids are still great. And I have one more year until they're in high school, and I can come back later and tell you about how they are in high school. hopefully. But anyhow, I just want to say thank you to everyone at the brand new year, and Mr. Albertson, we'll be really sad to see you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
The second is Catherine Barlow, and you can see I'm going to need my glasses. And I don't have glasses. Okay, if I fumble around, it's because I didn't bring my glasses.
It's okay. I have a couple copies, and there's some questions on the topic. I won't cover them here, but they're for you guys.
Okay, I'll pass. You don't have quite enough. Maybe share over there, and then we'll pass it toward one copy toward clerk at the end. Okay, go ahead.
All right, school board members, thank you for listening. I would like to talk about curriculum in our public schools. A couple of us have been looking into the curricula being used in our schools and have some comments about the process. Upon contacting the curriculum office, I was told we could make an appointment to view curriculum. At least 24 hours in advance notice was required to allow the assistant time to pull curricula from the warehouse. Only core curricula for each grade is in the warehouse. Texts have to be reviewed in the school district meeting room. The door to the room has to be open. It's not clear how anyone would review anything other than core curriculum that's taken from the warehouse. And I believe that anything else other than ELA, math, science, and history must be requested from teachers. I'm not certain, I haven't done that yet. Several concerns come to mind with the above rules. The process makes it hard for parents and concerned citizens to get informed and involved. The office is open only from 8 to 4 on weekdays. It conflicts with a lot of people's schedules. The open door policy makes citizens feel like our behavior is suspect. With the current tension around parents looking into things, I don't know how schools and teachers will respond to requests that we see other materials they're using in class. Also, citizens and parents don't know the breadth of what is being taught, so how do we even know what to ask for? One notable omission for me was the lack of access to health class material at the junior and senior high levels. It has been said there is no critical race theory content in LPOSD schools, but I can tell you firsthand from reviewing the core curricula for K through 6, there is questionable gateway content for CRT in the ReadyGen curriculum. I would also note some content that may indeed be CRT adjacent is labeled social emotional learning. I will give a few examples, though there are many. The texts contain many stories about racial bias, where Chinese, Japanese, Black, and Hispanic people are victimized by white people. In addition, stories about American history for this age group are geared toward telling about injustices perpetrated by settlers, such as taking land from Native Americans, poverty, and slavery. The United States was founded on rights given to us by nature and nature's God, the Bible, Christian faith, and freedom. Yet there is a glaring lack of including anything about this in the material. There are many true, well-rounded American stories available, which would instill positive values in our children and our culture. We should have pride in our nation's history rather than focus primarily on things America did wrong. I would like to see effort placed on making it easier for parents and concerned others to find out exactly what's being taught, and there should be well-publicized avenues for citizens to provide input for any existing or new curricula being studied. Thank you.
Thank you. You must have timed yourself because that
I
was
did.
perfect.
Right on.
His buzzer started right when you said thank you. Thank you, and I will keep one of these for me, and then we'll make sure we get a copy to the clerk. We have Kristen Hawkins.
Hi. Thanks for the opportunity to chat. I'm Kristen Hawkins. I'm a former Lake Pondere School District social studies teacher and a mama to 4 little ones, the oldest of whom is a kindergartner. When I taught government at the high school, I often attended these meetings alongside some of my senior students, and we were often the only people in the room, so it's really cool to see so many people here tonight. I really wanted them to see the value of education, educational decisions being made and how they were being made, and so I just, again, appreciate how many people are invested in the community youth. After a handful of years of living in Cincinnati, for my husband's job, we returned to our beloved Sandpoint home. And some things changed while we were gone. The population grew, and I would say that the school board meetings have taken sort of a negative turn in some regards. But did you know that the #1 reason why employees choose to leave their careers is a lack of recognition? That's followed by burnout, and I cannot change the current challenges faced by educators to this year, which is plenty, but I can formally recognize the amazing work done by the team of educators at Lake Pondere School District. I just want to share a few thoughts as a parent. As a mama, I wish that teachers and those who support them, the paraprofessionals, administrators, office support staff, and our superintendent were praised more often for the amazing work they do. I've said it numerous times, but I can think of no person better than Tom Albertson to have weathered some of the storms that have faced education over the last 2 years. And the Lake Pondere School District Board and him made it possible to have in-person learning both last year and this year, so thank you for that. Following that, the way that my son has been cared for has been tremendous, both last year at Farm and Stidwell Developmental Preschool and this year as a kindergartner at Kootenai. His bus driver, his paraprofessional, his teachers, and the administration at his school have each carefully and lovingly consoled him on his hardest days. He has achieved amazing academic growth during his first quarter as a kindergartner due to the educational environment provided by them, but more importantly than that, he's overcome some major anxiety, and he now joyfully walks through the door of his schools each and every day. I am so fortunate that we've been able to experience in-person public education for the last 2 years, and it has blessed our family tremendously and numerous others who can't be here tonight, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dean Cannon?
All right, thanks everyone. And before I begin the 3 minutes, I just want to say I went to public school. I paid public school, my kids in public school. I want more kids in public school. There just has to be trust there, and that's important for Karen. Basically, the comment that I had tonight is about curriculum here in LPOSD. Our critical race theory is real. The Idaho legislature drafted and passed House Bill 377, which bans critical race theory. The governor signed that bill into law. Critical race theory is now illegal in the state of Idaho. But it's also like a live hand grenade. Nobody wants to touch it because bad things happen to those that do or even see it. That's one of the things that makes it so toxic, and I think why even a definition of it is needed. So this is obvious CRT from San Bernardino. Quote, what ideology led white male settlers to be power and land hungry and justify stealing land from indigenous people through genocide? Answer, white supremacy. So that's what I call the sledgehammer CRT for obvious reasons. And then there's kind of the more intravenous slow drip CRT. I found this in my daughter's social studies curriculum here in Sandpoint. The book's called Explorers. It teaches history. It boils the age of exploration down to this statement. Exploring is often dangerous. The risk may be worthwhile if you get rich, though. The Spanish were examples of wealth seekers. They were looking to get rich. It's the same phrase as the first one, only you can't say that yet in northern Idaho. Further, being the first to do something like climb Mount Everest or reaching the pole meant you would be remembered in the history books. These so-called firsts were being checked off by fame-hungry explorers. There's another about a man named Captain Cook who had a piece of paper that says we can take from India what we want, and I'll make this company a fortune. No mention that he discovered Antarctica or recorded the transit of Venus halfway around the world from England where he set sail from. Embedded CRT like this ties into modern stories like the book called Washed Up, taught to 10-year-olds here in Sandpoint. In it, there's 3 families, an Asian, white, and Hispanic. They're on an island and have to work together. I can go into the details of the racial stereotyping and scapegoating later if anybody wants to. But there's a scene where a Hispanic girl accuses the white boy of stealing from her family via a hole in the fence. She yells, "You're a cheat. You're trying to steal things from our side of the fence. Isn't there anything you rich types haven't figured out on your own yet?" That's in the book. And I saw these in the office downtown. This stuff is heartbreaking to read. All the bad people look like my daughter. How will this affect her? Well, she told me. She says, reading some of these books makes her feel weird. That's a quote. I checked the website for the publisher of the ReadyGen curriculum. Here's what it says. Research has shown that embedding diversity and consistently challenging racial stereotypes in education results in changes to an individual's mindset. Further, it says, and these are what they're trying to embed, education is a powerful force for equity and change in our world, it says, yet a cycle of systemic racism across our society is holding Black and other ethnically diverse people from realizing these benefits. Everyone does not have an equal chance, according to the makers of this curriculum. And they continue to say, we recognize we need to actively change the system. All our products and services incorporate these principles. So those are the people who publish the curriculum my daughter reads.
And the timer's going. But if you have,
I think I said what?
but if you have comments you want us to take to read, we can.
Well, I would wrap up by that saying I didn't come here to complain. What needs to happen is this needs to be recognized as a true and real problem. The curriculum needs to be removed. Replacement curriculum needs to be found. The governor has just authorized $300 million for education in Idaho. I think we can find some more suitable curriculum than that which teaches embedded racial scapegoating and hatred through the slow drip method of CRT.
Thank you.
Like that.
Next speaker is Sherry Tilford. Oh, there you are. I know she's here. Thank you.
my chicken scratches on there.
Oh,
So-
if you want me to have a cleaner copy, I can.
No, that's okay. Just the name of the book is on the first page there.
Okay, thank you. Hello.
Hello, Happy New Year. I'm Sherry Clifford. I have my daughter in the homeschool academy here in the school system, and otherwise we homeschool. Welcome to the new board members. I look forward to working with you guys. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you, Tom, for all the work you're doing for the parental rights issue that I have been pushing on you guys. I know the time and energy it takes to research something very, very well. So I appreciate the effort you're putting into it. And I listened to the last board meeting on the video. I wasn't able to attend in person. I just wanted to point out a couple things that I really appreciated. Apparently there is a policy, I believe it was District 84 policy number 2424, which is not a part of board policy yet, but it has to do with parental rights. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. There was a lot of talk about using the Idaho Educational Code as guidance, which I fully appreciate, and there was talk of putting it in policy for easy access. Geraldine, you said that, and I fully support that. Lonnie, you said we are bound by code, and I appreciate that that's the way it works. My biggest concern is the mask mandate specifically goes against the code that it seems it was added in 2021, I think Lonnie, you said that, which is maybe after the mask mandate was put into effect, but the emergency, quote, code 321014, emergency order is not justification to interfere with parental rights, forced medication, including forced medication, medical action on a child. I know a lot of people who think masks are innocuous and not medical action, but they are. It's a medical intervention to deny parents' rights to choose the best medical care for their children. And if they don't agree with the school policy, they're not allowed to attend school, I think is overstepping the bounds of your authority. And it concerns me that that was put into place regardless of the Idaho code that exists to prevent that specifically. So my concern is mainly around healthcare and health choices for families, but I hear a lot of concern around curricula. And I have that concern as well, which is actually the reason why I homeschool, because I recognized in myself the need to educate myself and unindoctrinate myself from public education. So that is a concern as well, obviously. And I hope that you'll send out surveys and questions like you do from time to time when the policy is written so that parents can weigh in, because this is obviously about parents. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. And the last is Lonnie Blair.
I'm Lonnie Blair, and welcome to the new trustees. This is really not going to involve the new people, but the Code of Oaths, which you guys all took, are covered with a surety bond, and the code requires a dishonesty and faithful performance of duty policy in lieu of bond. You are bonded under this code, and your bonds are faithful performance and honesty bonds. I know because I spoke to your bonding agent. That being said, this whole past 2 years, there has never been any isolated samples of the virus. No official agency can produce this. So I have written a claim against your bonds, and I'll personally put them in the hands of every parent in this district. I'm a stay-at-home mom and have no problem doing just that. Once a claim is made on your insurance company is now on notice of a pending lawsuit, which they will be on the hook for. We will sue in federal district court under Title 42, 1983, civil action of deprivation of rights under color of law in both your official and individual capacity. We'll seek compensatory and punitive damages with the amounts you were bonded to. I mean, there has been, the rule of law here has been violated so egregiously this past 2 years, it's beyond. So I'm putting you guys on notice. I'm filing a claim. There's negligent, endangerment, coercion. You violated your oath of office. 18 U.S.C. 241, conspiracy against rights. 18 U.S.C. 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. illegal acts of coercion, like I said. 18 U.S. Code, Section 233.1, subsection 82, Constitution of the State of Idaho, Article 1, Declaration of Rights, Section 1, inalienable rights of a man, Section 4, guarantee of religious liberty. And this, I could go on and on and on, but just wanted to put you on notice that these things have been filed, and I have plenty of time to make sure everybody knows how to file for themselves.
And
Thank you.
Do you want to turn anything into the clerk for record? Or?
It's already been mailed, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. So with that, we will move on to action items. I'm going to pass this back to the clerk. Records. And the first order of business is I dissolve the current board of trustees as it sits, and I pass the authority of the meeting over to the superintendent.
Okay, at this time, I will be calling for nominations for board chairman.
I would like to nominate Geraldine Lewis as
Okay.
board chair.
Are there any other nominations? Jalen?
Yeah, I was going to nominate Lonnie.
Okay, so we have any further nominations? So we have 2 nominations, Geraldine and Lonnie, and we will go in the order in which they were nominated. So, let's see. Clerk of the board will take roll call vote for the first nominee. Please state A or aye or no. The first nominee, the majority vote is elected. So,
Roll call vote, Trustee Decker for Geraldine Lewis as board chair.
Aye.
Trustee Sherman,
Aye.
Trustee Peters,
No.
Trustee Williams,
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion is passed.
okay, and now I will turn the meeting back over to new or
Okay.
renewed board
So
chair.
as chair, and I kind of read the motion here. Thank you for electing me as board chair for the year. We will now go for the election. I'll call for nominees for vice chairman.
I nominate Lonnie Williams for vice chairman.
Okay, we have one nomination. Are there other nominations? So I will pass it over to the clerk to take a roll call vote.
So roll call vote on the election of vice chairman as Lonnie Williams. Roll call vote, Trustee Decker,
Aye.
Trustee Sherman,
Aye.
Trustee Peters,
Yes.
Trustee Williams,
Aye.
Chair Lewis.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. So we will go through these action items, and I would entertain a motion for appointment of treasurer.
All right. Yeah. I will move to appoint Lisa Halls as our treasurer.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Are there any discussion?
No.
So does that require a roll call vote or?
It does not require a roll call
Okay,
vote.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. That motion passes. We'll do the same thing for clerk of the board. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Kelly Fisher as clerk of the board.
Is there a second?
A second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion passes. So now we would entertain a motion for authorized agents. And the appointment is Tom Albertson, Lisa Halls, and Kelly Fisher as the authorizations for Lake Pondere School District. I'll hear a motion for that.
I move to appoint Tom Albertson, Lisa Halls, and Kelly Fisher as authorized agents for Lake Pondere School District.
Second.
It's seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion passes. I would remind you all that we have a code of ethics that we sign
Oh, you skipped one point of reference.
Oh, sorry, I skipped the custodian of records. I will hear a motion to appoint a custodian of records. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Custodian.
I move to appoint Kelly Fisher as the custodian of records for Lake
Second.
Pondere School District.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion passes. Sorry for skipping. There was a code of ethics at each of your places. That is something to read and sign and date and get back to the clerk for her records. And the next point of business is our board meeting location dates for the 22-23 school year. So that is also in your packet. I would hear a motion for that.
Chair Lewis, if
Yes.
you don't mind, it was in your packet, however, February 22nd. So everything remains the same, second and fourth Tuesday of each month.
That's
The
correct.
second meeting, of course, is optional, as by code you are only required to have one meeting a month. But February 22nd, this location of the Pondere Event Center has been booked and is absolutely not available. So it does say to be determined. Obviously, that's the second meeting of the month. We could have it possibly at one of the schools or at the district office, which tends to be a lot harder and more difficult there. So
If
it's
at all.
something
If at all.
to discuss right now and
Okay.
possibly set that location,
Right now? No.
if you could.
Sorry. So we're going to think of a possible location. We have held meetings in schools in the past and with easy success. I don't know because we haven't really talked to any of the principals or administrators at those schools. So it would be like we would put out a suggestion, but it might be open to change. I would pick somewhere kind of centralized if I was going to pick a school to hold a meeting at. Is there any feedback or discussion from board members? Any preferences?
In the past, where have they been at schools? What
When,
schools?
when we've had them at schools, it's either in the library
No, I
or
mean,
the.
which schools? What would you consider?
Oh, we've had them in every school before.
Every school.
Yep.
All right.
We used to rotate through every school. So it's not that any school's not set up to have a meeting. It has worked.
Okay.
A central location is obviously desirable, easier for everyone to reach.
It could be determined as well if you would like to just task the superintendent and myself with contacting the school and give you options, and you could come back at the first meeting in February
That would be helpful.
with options.
And if you would look at the schools that are located in Sandpoint, that seems to be, in my opinion, reach the north and the south communities more easily, except for you're way out there for.
Very tired.
Is that narrowed down enough for the purposes of the discussion?
Yes.
That, there's 3 or 4 schools to select from, so. Okay? Is that comfortable for the trustees?
Yeah.
If we task the clerk and
Yes.
superintendent to narrow it down beyond schools in Sandpoint?
Yeah.
So now with that discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting schedule and locations as presented.
I move to approve the 2022-2023 meeting calendar as presented.
Okay?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
So I was just going to ask, we're leaving the second ones on here and then
They're-
potential to.
They're always on
delete
here
those.
in case we need them, or if we don't have a necessary business
Right.
item, then it gets
Okay.
dispensed and not posted.
Yep.
So, they all stay on the agenda in case they're needed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, that motion passes. So every year we approve posting locations, and I would ask the clerk to clarify for us the code regarding
So
this.
Idaho code does specify that it must be posted agendas on our website, which we do, and at your central meeting location, which would be here, which I do on the doors downstairs. But I also always post at the district office in the window as well. There's electronic postings such as global notices that I get to media, news. Historically, we've had individual patrons want to be on that mailing list. It makes it a lot more difficult for me because it is also right on the website as well. Code also specifies that your meeting posting locations, it's the last notice posted, qualifies as your time, just so you guys are aware of that as well. So this was just changed. I used to post at the courthouse and City Hall. A couple years ago, the board changed that to just the, we're still going above and beyond the legal requirement, but we didn't know how much traction was coming from the courthouse on their bulletin board.
I feel like people use more and more often, they're looking at things digitally
Online,
anyway, so
yeah.
it became.
And that did take me, which wasn't bad, so if you chose to do it again, driving there and posting, so it, I mean, it's your guys' choice.
I'm open to hearing a motion.
I move that
For
we approve
discussion.
the notice posting locations of the Lake Pend Oreille School District office on the LPOSD website and at the Pend Oreille Event Center for the upcoming year's meetings.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion, other areas or anything? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so that motion passes. We're just busting right through these. There is one alternate authorization teacher to new. That's for Brooke Bessler, and we have that in our packet. If
Chair Lewis, I would see if Principal Carrie Grenier could speak to this.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Carrie.
Hello, board. Thank you. So we did put an alternate authorization for Brooke Bessler. And the interesting thing about her position is, so a health endorsement for a teacher who's teaching kindergarten through 8th grade, their endorsement is a general all subjects K-8, except for health specifically only, and that requires a special certification, which most high school 7 through 12 health teachers, PE teachers get with their teaching certificate, but it doesn't come with a general K through 8 certificate. And so when we still have to hire a credentialed health teacher in the middle school, so we're kind of under that then. And when Ms. Bessler applied for this teaching position, and she's a very well qualified, came highly recommended from her school. We didn't have enough sections of health to fill a full-time health teacher at the middle school, and so she said she was willing to take the step needed to take the praxis and gain her credentials in English alongside of her current health credential.
So I know this is a new process to some of you. Do you have questions on how this alternate authorization works? Nope. Thank you. And so with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve an alternate authorization for content specialist year 1 for Brooke Bessler at Sandpoint Middle School.
Second.
That's moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. That motion passes. Thank you, Carrie. So we have our consent agenda in front of us, minus the minutes, obviously. And I will hear a motion for consent.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
A second?
Hold that space there. It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I was just being quiet so somebody else could be on the scoreboard if they wanted to.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion except for that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion passes. we get to have 2 school presentations, and the first one is from Hope Elementary, and Principal Sherry Hatley is presenting to us. Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a little chilly in here. But
I know.
I'm gonna warm up.
I'm going to put my coat on.
I'm Sherry Hatley, principal of Hope Elementary School and a half-time title teacher out there as well. So welcome to the new year. Welcome to all our snow. And I just have a picture up here of our playground on what was one of the few blue sky days that we had. But as you can see, it's a lovely environment. One of the things that Hope is unique is our multi-age classrooms. We have 5 teachers for 7 grade levels, K through 6. Kindergarten is our only single grade. I have 2 teachers, Mrs. Tuttle and Mrs. Peterson, who split first, second, and third, and one of them teaches all the ELA, and the other one teaches all the math, and then they split the writing between. At 4, 5, and 6, I have 2 teachers, Mrs. Spencer and Mrs. Majors, and that one split a little bit different. Mrs. Spencer teaches 4th and 5th grade math, as well as 4th grade ELA. Mrs. Majors teaches ELA for both 5th and 6th, and 6th grade. And then they divvy up the science as well. We have PE twice a week, music twice a week, and library once a week, and the students attend in their homeroom configurations. Technology is once a week, and our K through 3 attend via homeroom, and 4, 5, 6 attend by their grade levels because their homerooms don't fit in our lab, and all of our students have Chromebooks, but our younger kids go to the lab to do their tech. Currently, my 2 1 through 3s have 23 students and 22 students split down the middle. Mrs. Spencer and Mrs. Majors, they are sitting both at 29 students, and that's each of them have 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. So our enrollment by grade level, total school, we're sitting at 123 students right now, which we're up about 20 students from last year.
Wow.
And so that was,
big change.
I mean, a 20% growth. That's pretty wild in 1 year. We went to multi-age about 9 years ago because we had years and years of 1 year we have to combine these grades, and other years we have to combine other grades, and it was difficult in every year having different configurations. So we did a lot of research and chose to go with multi-age because when you have one class that's really small on either side of larger classes or normal sized classes, you're always breaking those kids up. So we felt we started with 4th, 5th, and 6th, breaking those up into, and some of the things that have come out of that is you have more opportunity for your older kids to become role models or to take leadership roles than if they're just always, if 6th graders are always with 6th grade. You also have opportunities sometimes for 4th and 6th grade to work together, and the 6th grader realizes that these 4th graders have some value and actually have something to bring to the table. And so there's been a number of things in terms, we are a small school, the kids do know each other, but even by having different configurations, they know each other even better. And so it really creates that kind of more of a family feel for us. I listed by grade level the numbers that we have. You'll notice 6th grade is at 16, and last year as 5th graders, they were 10 and 11 students throughout the school year. So we've been finding the last several years, 6th grade tends to be a grade where we get brand new people to our area. They're moving from somewhere else and they're bringing their 6th graders to our school. Connecting with our community is really important to us. And our community, the greater community, we come all the way into Sandpoint, but really we look at our community as Clark Fork and Hope. That's where our students come from. About 1/3 of our students come from Hope, and the 2/3 come from the Clark Fork and on out to the Montana border as well. If you notice here, my photos show that this one all the way up to the top right, that is our 6th grade flag detail. Happens every single morning. Our students that are on that detail put up the flag in the morning after they get to school, and they take it down before they leave. And that happens every single day. And that's their job, and it rotates through 6th graders throughout the school year, so they all have an opportunity to have that responsibility. For Veterans Day, the last 2 years, we've missed inviting all of our veterans into our school. However, we wrote letters, and so we worked with our local VFW, and our students wrote about 80 letters, and we mailed them out to our veterans that are registered with the VFW, as well as some of our families have given us addresses because they have veterans within their family. We've added that to our database as well. So our students wrote letters and we mailed them out. Something pretty special that happened this fall as well is the Patriots Pen writing contest. That is 6th, 7th, and 8th graders write. And this year's theme was, how can I be a good American? And our 6th graders placed 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the Clark Fork VFW group in that particular contest. And the first place winner goes on to the next, I believe they call it districts. And so we don't know where that is right now, as whether or not he's going to win. So the picture of the students, several students holding a certificate, those were students. All of our 6th graders wrote the essay. Not all of them submitted their essay, but the ones with the certificate submitted it. And then you see our teacher, Mrs. Majors, in the blue shirt, and then Tel Thompson is with the VFW. And he came and presented cash checks. They got dollars
Wow.
for their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place, as well as some pretty special certificates that came from the VFW.
That's great.
It was really cool. Something else that we have at Hope School is a garden, and last year in the springtime we plant, and then in the fall we harvest, and so we had some pretty nice things to harvest this year. Spaghetti squash and pumpkins and zucchini, always zucchini, giant zucchini, and tomatillos, some peppers, a few other things like that. But our 2nd graders were the ones that were able to do all the harvesting, and they were very excited about it. We also connect with Clark Fork Junior Senior High School when they do homecoming. You know, high school kids celebrate all week and they have different activities all week, and we usually try to pick 3 days where we can be part of what they do. A lot of the Clark Fork students are past Hope students, and so we really try to support them. Some of our families have kids in both schools, and so we really overlap. And the picture there you see we have a lot of blue and gold, and then the center picture, our banner, because we walked in the parade out on Friday before the homecoming game, it says the future of Clark Fork High School, and so it's many of our elementary kids and their parents.
Great.
Cool.
Our parent-teacher conferences, I'm super proud. 99%. We reached 99% of our parents. Most of them were face-to-face. Probably somewhere between 5 and 8% were phone calls. So we tried to find times where we could be face-to-face, but that didn't happen. So then our teachers conducted parent-teacher conferences over the phone. So we are currently sitting at 99% for this fall conference. Our food drive, I know I mentioned it last time. You see the graph over here. Our advanced 6th graders would collect the items for the food drive, add to the graph the tall. Each one of these are the total for a particular homeroom. The smaller graph at the side was the per capita number, and so they had a running total of how many total items, but then also per capita. And then when it was all said and done, they actually weighed the items, and it was 1,500 pounds of food that was donated to the Hope Clark Park Food Bank. And then we went right into, right before winter break with our K-3 winter music program, and it was so delightful and so fun to have our families in our buildings and all of our littles singing their little hearts out before they got to have a few weeks off. We do actually learn quite a bit at Hope School. It's not all just all fun and games and dressing up in blue and gold and things like that. So one of the things that we've done for a number of years, and we feel that this is a high leverage activity, is setting individual student goals, kindergarten all the way through 6th grade. So the example of the Grows and Glows, that happens quarterly in kindergarten, reading, math, writing, and personal. And personal might be like, I'm gonna work on writing neater, or, these are kindergartners. And if you notice that, you probably can't see it on that. The top line is I can, so they start with something that they can do, they state that. I aim to is the next category, and that's what they're working on, that's what they're trying to grow in. And then how I plan to do, and they pick 2 strategies on how they aim to get that job done. And then the teacher will help me by, and my parents will help me by. And so they fill that out, and then Mrs. Shelton shares these with parents on a quarterly basis. One of the other goal-setting activities that happens monthly is with the IRI. And so the middle graph is an example of a student who's actually doing very well. However, there's always room for improvement. So she would write her goals based on probably the spelling category there, and she would decide on some strategies. She would pick from a list of some strategies and decide what she feels would work best for her, and then write her goal so that then in the next month she would be able to measure that goal. The last one, picture up there is MAP, and these are individual students 3rd through 6th grade that actually set MAP fall to winter. And the yellow aspect.
Can you
yes.
just remind us, IRI and MAP are 2 acronyms that we'll hear over and over and over.
Sorry.
No, just for a refresher, first meeting of the year.
Okay.
IRI
is the individual
reading indicator.
Idaho Reading Indicator.
Yes.
And it's been called that for a long time, and actually because of the system that we use, there's even more acronyms, so we'll leave it at IRI.
Okay.
MAP is measures of academic progress, and we take a math and a reading assessment, and at Hope School, K through 6 does that. We do fall and winter for everybody, and then in the springtime, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th do not take it in the springtime because they're already taking the ISATs, which are our spring big tests.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You betcha. All right, so they would use this sheet that says, here's where you are, here's your expected growth, and then students would write goals based on that, and then also they would strategize on what is their plan on how they're going to get there. Focusing on learning for teachers, our professional learning communities, last year we started looking at our vocabulary and how that fit with our data, and then we also noticed that in writing that we could use some work. So far, with our PLC time this year, we did data review and audited our vocabulary. We did data review and looked at our writing. And the most recent PLC times, professional learning time, our teachers have been unpacking writing standards. So you have your state standards, and the 2nd grade, those are all the writing standards listed for 2nd grade. And then each of the grade level teachers took one standard to unpack, to separate out really what nouns and verbs and what actions they needed to do in their teaching, and then wrote I can statements so that then their students would have a better understanding of that expectation and their teaching to that. And then our next step with that is looking at either designing or using an existing assessment that we have in the variety of grade levels, or a teacher-made assessment to assess whether or not what they've done with that standard that they met their target. And interim blocks are also something that is within the ISAT testing, and so a focused interim block would be, let's say a teacher just taught a specific strand within math, and she or he wanted to see how her students were doing at that particular point in time. They could offer this interim block assessment, and they would get scores, and they would really dissect how the students did, but then the students would also learn about, oh, I need to learn a little bit more. I need to practice this particular strategy or this particular standard algorithm or this other way of solving my math problems. Last year, we offered 9 different interim blocks, and prior to break, we were at 6, and our goal for this year is to do 12. And that's in grades 3 through 6. It doesn't seem like a very big number, but they're really valuable. We're finding them to be super useful. And science is now added into that as well. So these 3 pictures are actually from today. I went into 2 different classes while they were teaching math. And the picture in the center, I captured this one because the 2 boys that look like they're talking, and I'm sorry, it's not a very good picture, but they have a whiteboard between them, and they're solving a problem, and they're using math language, and they are coaching each other because they got 2 different answers. So they were explaining on how they each solved it, and it's a great learning environment, in that kids feel comfortable saying, well, I got this, and I noticed you got that. So how did you do that? Or show me what you did. And they're having these conversations. And so as they're identifying their own mistakes, when we identify our own mistakes, we tend to learn much better that way. So that's all I have to say about Hope School for right now. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity to present to you tonight and to be part of this incredible school district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Principal Sherry. Are there any specific questions? Thank you so much.
What grade are those kids? Sorry.
This class you were in today?
So the 2 on that side, that's Mrs. Majors, and that's a 6th grade core right now. And over here is 4th grade, and this is Mrs. Spencer.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And it's not just 6th graders that have conversations about that.
I like your little figure of yourself. It's very accurate.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I know there's a little transition. We have our second school presentation from Principal Phil Cumming, who is right there, and for Clark Fork Junior and Senior High School. There we go.
Glasses.
That's my problem too. Welcome.
Oh, it was good. Okay, hold on, I gotta get rid of that. Glasses, there you go. I can hold that screen over here if you want me to.
That's what it is, let me tell you.
That one. Will you hold it to me?
Yeah, it's not gonna let me get rid of that small screen, I don't think.
You could, it's clear enough to see it that way. Oh, maybe there.
Just give me a second, I'll see if I can get her back up.
Sure.
Somebody call Matt Brass.
No need.
There you go.
Look at that.
Technology.
All right,
Welcome.
thank you guys, Phil Kimmick, Clark Fork High School. Once again, it's gonna be we're another small school, and there is one heck of a lot going on. I'm going to be sharing about 4 types of things with you tonight, and it's all on part of our mission statement is Join the Pride. As students at Clark Fork, small school, small community, and I always tell everybody, one big dysfunctional family. You love each other, but you hate each other at the same time. And so part of it is if you attend our school, you join us, you become part of us. First thing I'm going to talk about, social emotional learning. It's been a big push across the U.S. with COVID, politics, and all that stuff. Everything's people feel the tension. Kids feel the tension. And this is something that we have seen coming up we're now into our 2nd, 3rd year of this. Last year, 2 years ago, we wrote a grant and picked up a program called CORE. The guy is based out of Coeur d'Alene area. And it was first sold to us as one big lump of a program, and what they found out is that junior high and high school kids, elementary kids, they don't all think alike. And so high school age kids, they didn't really buy into this whole touchy-feely thing. Share with me, how's your life? How do you feel like you might be part of the community? And so we ended up actually getting another grant to take care of the high school side of this CORE program. Last year, the state requires students, parents, and staff to do surveys on, how'd the year go? Do you feel like you're part of the community? And what we found out was, especially junior high, and how just schools were in turmoil last year. There was a lot going on, and we had 29% of the kids felt like, I just don't really feel like I'm part of this. We had a chunk of those kids who were doing remote learning. They were staying at home and stuff. And so I would attribute a lot of it to that, but still, school wasn't normal last year. We've heard about it at a lot of board meetings and stuff. Life just wasn't normal. Once the students were in our school longer, you can see that number drop from basically 30% down to 18%. And so you feel like you're part of that family. What this program is, our kids meet weekly. We've changed we're on an AB schedule, and so we were able to retain a period in the day where we can actually have kids and support them in multiple ways. This way, these are some of the topics we've covered so far. Pressure from the outside. So the lessons that are included in this CORE program allows students that they have open-ended questions, and so they'll ask something, and it's amazing how much kids, especially the younger kids, it's shocking. You walk in and you listen to them. They're opening up with each other. They're feeling like they are part of that family, and they know that they can lean on each other for support if they need it. These are the 7 topics that we've covered so far. I believe that there's going to be 10 throughout the year that we cover, and so it's just something that so far, in my perspective, and it'll be interesting to see how the year-end results look on the student surveys that are required by the state, but we're hoping that these numbers come down as a result. One of the other things, and it kind of ties in with that first goal, student and family outreach. We've always been really good at it. A few years ago, we had a blog called Wampus Talks, and I don't know how many people recall that, but it was rated as one of the top blogs in the U.S. for a while. Through changes in staff, that's kind of gone away, but we're still focusing on that positive outreach. How do you keep that family atmosphere? That Clark Fork and Hope communities, they really, really support our school. But in order to hopefully change that 28.9% and the 18%, we're trying to find other ways. And so this is something that we've done, and we spring it on the kids so nobody knows what's coming. They know what the character traits are that we're looking for, and then at the end of the month, everybody votes, and kid's name rises to the top, and so it's kind of sweet when you get to go and give them a certificate, and with that they get some really cool Clark Fork swag, t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever. And so They love it. And so these are our first 4, and January's coming to an end, and we're going to be focusing on that hidden talent that somebody has that nobody ever knew about. So we'll see.
Good.
Could be interesting.
Right, folks, number 3, our track program. This is something we're known for, I'll say now across multiple states. We've had several schools come and visit our school, and they continue to, there's schools that are picking us up. For the new board members, this is something that came about. We had some budget cuts several years ago now, and so we brought tracks in there. It's not like you're running, it is experiential learning. And so because we didn't have very many electives left over, we brought this in to play in our school, where we've got now 22 days through the year where instead of going to your regular classes, you take an entire day and you apply what you're learning to real life scenarios. Our 7th graders, they get kind of a smattering of all different kinds of things, anywhere from woodworking to listen to guest presentations to going somewhere to like a factory or something like that. And so they get to see a whole bunch of stuff in like the career technical fields, art, anything like physical stuff, especially with the junior high kids, they love. Outdoor survival, I mean, they do really cool stuff. Clear up to our seniors, where they are involved with the senior project. It's a requirement for the state to graduate. And so what we do at our school is our seniors, basically they job shadow, and it's been kind of interesting through the years. Some of the kids have job shadowed going into it like, man, I really want to be a teacher. And then they get into the classroom and, oh my God, I cannot stand this. These kids are nuts. And so anywhere from there to dental hygienists, all kinds of stuff. And so it's something, a lot of kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an astronaut. It'd be sweet if we could go to JPL or something like that with a kid, but you don't really know. And I mean, times are changing. Everybody, I mean, the numbers used to go to, I'm going to be a miner, and you mined all your life. It's not like that anymore, and we know it. And so this is a great opportunity for kids to get their hands dirty and really get involved in career or what, I mean, they get to feel what they're doing. And is this something I'm interested in? Do I want to go to college? Do I want to go to trade school? It's really neat because there's a lot of kids who, they don't get out of our area, and they get to experience other people coming in. I mean, I keep waiting for the kid that goes to Coachella from Clarkport to be sweet, because a lot of people don't really know. And this experience, they remember it, and this is something I can guarantee they are going to remember for the rest of their lives. The 14th, I believe 1 or 2 of you guys are going to be on our senior judging committee, and so I hope anybody here is invited to this thing. But it's pretty cool because this is, the seniors have to present what they've done, what they've learned, and it's a unique opportunity for them, and it fulfills one of those graduation requirements. When the seniors are done presenting, the whole school, basically every kid sets up in our gym, and they've got trifold boards, and they have to tell you what they've learned, not just I went and played dodgeball. They have to tell you what they learned. And so come with some good questions if you are able to make it. Next one.
That's a good
Data. I'm not a big data person. I hate it. And so it's nice that I work with people that are. My math teacher, I charged him with basically, can you come up with something that we can start using to pick away at some data? I've sat on several committees around the state, and one of them had to do with testing and stuff. And everybody says they're interim assessments. It's provided by the state. It's basically practice tests for the ISAT. How do you get better at the ISAT? What do the questions look like? How do you use the drop-down calculator? It's amazing if a kid knows how the test is formatted, they tend to do better. Every year I've been trying to pick away at this, and I think, well, I'm hoping, knock on wood, we found a way. I had some fictitious names put in here. That's my staff, because I have this thing rolling, and it's live at my school, where we were talking about interim assessments. We've given anywhere per grade, anywhere between 10 and 12 interims this year, and I think we've given a lot of interim assessments. And so I'm hoping, from what I've heard from other schools, that going through these types of assessments, sample-like questions, I'm hoping it might actually pay dividends when our school actually takes the ISAT this year. We've taken a lot of I mean, we've taken a lot of practice tests. The way we're doing this is that extra block that I have in our schedule. It's 60 minutes instead of the traditional hour and a half long class. And during that time, I don't know why it's shaking.
It's a train.
During that time, that 60 minutes, kids are split up into 3 different blocks, one of which takes care of this, and then depending upon the day, if a kid's struggling in math, hey, Mr. Albertson, can I come to your class for these 15 minutes to get some support with this math concept? And then on the other days, one's teacher-directed, one's student-directed. On the teacher-directed day, Mr. Albertson gets to say, hey, Mr. Decker, see you're struggling in my class. Will you come down here during this time so we can cover
I would
this?
have to.
And so far it's working great. During the same block of time is when we do those core lessons and stuff. And this is something I'm very happy that we were able to retain, was that hour of time throughout the day, because it gives kids a chance to connect, and it gives teachers and students a time to gain additional supports that they need, whether it be through the emotional side or through the academic side. And so it's been awesome. With this spreadsheet we've got rolling here, you can actually see how the kid's doing versus the class, and it's allowed us to kind of peel away some layers. And so, well, I'll show you. This is your class-wide, that's the individual student. And so out of all these 12 things that this kid has covered, whether it be in ELA, English, or math, you're able to pick apart the part that the students are struggling with either individually, so during that period you can work with the individuals, and or, man, sorry, half the class didn't get this, we're going to have to go back and reteach this thing. And so, we'll see. Like I said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It might be the magic ticket, because I would really like to get the school at the top of the heap in the state again. And that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a comment.
Yep.
Got one of your students who's going to be working in my office, actually.
Yep.
And I'm thrilled. I think it's great.
Oh,
Give
It's
kids
a
a
great
chance to
program.
get some real life experience.
Yeah.
And I spoke to their mom, and her mom said, she'll learn more in this at this time than a whole lot of classes put together.
Yep.
You just get some real world experience. So I think it's great that you guys are doing it, because it
Well-
lets people know, again, like, oh, maybe that's cool, or that was horrible. I do not want to go down that road.
It's
which
like
is
being thrust
very-
in your first day of a job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You live and learn real quick.
Yep.
Anything else, you guys?
What's your student population right now?
As of today, it's at 120.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're kind of staying
That's fine.
pretty
Yeah.
even keel. We'll start high, we'll lose a few. This spring we'll probably grab a few more after the snow leaves. But yeah, it's been for the last probably 4 or 5 years, we're now pretty
Yeah.
even keel.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, thank you very much for your
Yep.
presentation, and I love those days where you do your senior class presentation.
Yeah, it's
so.
pretty hectic this week getting ready for it, but yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Are there
thank
any other questions? No, thank you, we appreciate it. We have 2 first readings of policy, and just as a reminder, policies are read and discussed, and then no motion is made at the first reading, brought back with any changes, and approved at second reading. So, I am going to turn it over to
Sure.
Superintendent Albertson.
All right, thank you, Chair Lewis. The first policy is a revision of current LPOSD Board Policy 2340 on controversial issues and academic freedom. It's in your board packet. Basically, what I want to touch on and what I have highlighted are the revisions up here, and so that's what was in bold. So there was Idaho Code 33138 was signed and put into Idaho Code last April, May, after House Bill, I think it was 377 was passed. And so basically, this is the one that is, and we've had this policy around controversial topics and parents opting their students out of a controversial topic. But this makes sure that this is up to Idaho Code. So I want to kind of read just the new part. The district affirms that the district, including its employees and students, are to respect the dignity of others and acknowledges the rights of others to express differing opinions and foster and defend intellectual honesty, freedom of inquiry and instruction, as well as speech and association rights appropriate to the educational settings. The rest of this policy is what was in our current policy, and then we get down to, which is probably the most important part here, is teachers will not attempt directly or indirectly to limit or control students' judgment concerning any issue, including but not limited to requiring students to personally affirm, adopt, or adhere that any race is inferior or superior, or on inherent responsibilities regarding sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin. Then we previously then, but it will make certain that the full and fair consideration is given to the subject and the facts are carefully examined as to their accuracy and interpretation. The new part that was added in per that Idaho code is this shall include not arguing that individuals should be treated adversely on the basis of any attributes listed above. And then number 5, no distinction or classification of students shall be made on account of race or color other than is required for collection or reporting of demographic data required by public schools. And then the rest of it is still the previous policy. So I know this is a first reading and it's not an action item, but I just want to know if there's any questions on this. What I would, I guess I have reached out to the State Department of Education and trying to get some guidance here, and the key word here is making sure, I think this number 3 bullet, and we have always talked about with all of our instructors to always teach balance, not to indoctrinate, and not to just teach one side of an issue. And so we've always talked about that, and I guess we use the language teaching with neutrality on any controversial topic, and then also making sure that parents, when we get to the parental rights, parents have the right to always opt their student out of any controversial topic as it is. I think sometimes the gray area is what is controversial topic, and when in doubt, let the parents know. And let the parents make that decision of whether that would be a controversial topic. And you do know in here in this policy it excludes sex education because that's its own entity there, where parents can opt their students out.
Right.
So, any questions or discussions for me?
Maybe just a point of information. So this updated policy is in compliance with Idaho Code 33138.
It is. So it takes that Idaho Code 33138 and then changes this board policy to make sure that it has the language that's in that code in this policy, so that our policy is up to date.
Okay.
Trustee, question more on an administrative approach.
Right.
And I'm sure that this is done at the building level, but my question would be, and the question arises out of some of the ambiguity in this is like, okay, at what age is some of this stuff taught? And I'm specifically talking about elementary school students and what they are exposed to, and how is it handled by a new teacher to the area that may have been exposed to different curriculum that moved here? Are they going to their principals and saying, okay, what should I bring forward in this, and what should I not? Right. That's a question that, from my side of the table, I would be concerned if I was a parent of a young elementary school student who was getting information that may be normal in some school district other than ours, but not what we're.
Right.
teaching here.
Well,
so I know that's a very
no,
broad-based question.
I appreciate your.
Yeah, and
I appreciate your question. First of all, I would say all parents should, number one, talk to your kids.
Yeah, find out what's good,
that's
yeah.
the number one thing you should do is ask your kids, or what are you bringing home,
Right.
and then have that dialogue with the classroom teacher too. So be involved, know what they're learning, know what's happening in the classroom. So again, have conversation with your own student.
Right.
Sometimes we skip that part.
Mhm.
Then have dialogue with the classroom teacher. And then, still then the chain of command then could be going from there. But I find that most things are resolved with the dialogue between the parent and the teacher.
Yeah.
I do get the question, and you heard in public comment today. I have not observed, and I do not know of, in our district, and I've been here 35 years, I have yet to have a teacher teach in the sense where, students are, I guess it's the inherent responsibility. It's been taught to be responsible for things that have happened in history. Okay?
Right.
It's important that we teach history. It's important that they know the facts of history, but I have yet to see a lesson where a student has been felt responsible for something that may not be maybe somebody may view as not the most colorful part of our history. I don't know. I think our teachers do take that responsibility, because I take it very responsible to make sure that they know that they need to teach a neutrality, and they are not pushing an agenda one way or the other. Yeah. Sure.
So on that
Trustee
line,
Peters.
no, sorry, I didn't know he was recognizing me.
Sorry.
It'd be me, but
Okay,
I
I'm
was looking the
sorry.
other way.
It does kind of talk about that on paragraph 6.
Yeah.
It says the board also believes that academic freedom carries with it the responsibility that is shaped by the basic ideals, goals, and institutions of the local community. These standards are expressed via the goals and objectives of the adopted curriculum. So it kind of addresses like what's in the curriculum that's been adopted. So do the
Right.
teachers have the freedom to not teach that, or to go outside of that? And a couple examples have been even spoken to
Right.
tonight with
Yeah.
critical race theory underlying things, as well as something that I'm aware of that from my days in high school, and I'm sure is most likely still there with biblical creation, but most textbooks teach the theory only of macroevolution. So like there are certain things that are curriculum adoptions.
Sure.
Does that mean those are our only standard that we use?
So there's Idaho code around a curriculum adoption. And so, for example, the historical part of, we had some public comment today centered around some of our elementary English language arts curriculum. That was a 2016 copyright that I believe we piloted in 2017. Ran the curricular process where we took public input, where the public then could come in and view that and compare. I believe it was down to 2 choices, and I wasn't involved in the process at the time, but from what I understand is then it was basically the parents' input that led to the adoption of what we currently have versus the other one. So, I mean, we follow Idaho code to the T when we're doing that. We will be in the near future be putting committees together, which will include parents, to look at the science curriculum, and then the math curriculum, and then back to social studies, and then ELA. It is a very expensive venture every time that we do that, and so it's that balance between trying to be as fiscally responsible with taxpayers' dollars, and then also making sure that we include the public when we do this adoption. And I don't, this is not a cop-out. I'm just going to be upfront with the board. Up until 6 months ago, I probably have never heard of CRT and did not ever hear of critical race theory. Like I said, as I value our parents and I value our input, and we'll have the dialogue. But for this policy here, this is, getting us up so that our policy has new Idaho code in that. So,
Right.
Any other questions on this, Chair
Do you
Lewis?
guys have a question? No. So if I understood you correctly, this curriculum, ELA curriculum, adopted in 2017.
It was
next
piloted, yes.
And
I
then
think
adopted in 18,
18, I
19.
think, implemented
18,
in
19.
18.
So
And
then,
I'm not sure I answered Trustee Williams' question. So this is the importance of our professional learning community. Sometimes we have people say, why do we have to have early release, and what do the teachers do in that time? Well, this is when within our professional learning communities that we are aligning our curriculum so that whether you are in 5th grade at Southside or 5th grade at Hope or 5th grade at Northside, you have the scope and sequence. And and within that scope and sequence, if I'm a brand new teacher to the district, you're handed that scope and sequence, you're given a mentor, then you're working within a PLC team. You're not just, here's your classroom, you're on an island, go for it.
Right.
Yeah, and
to have uniformed instruction.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. That's what I was trying to get to in a very poorly worded question.
No,
it was like, what is the process by which we are getting through some of these nuts and bolts of curriculum, especially at the elementary school level? And so, thank you.
thank you. Are there other questions specifically on the first reading that you've heard here, rather than the broader conversation?
No, it covers everything that the legislature put in place. If I have questions, I will take it up with them, because I do think they missed something, but that is off topic.
And there's no corrections to what you saw added?
Looks excellent.
Even grammatical.
And I just wanted to say that I have adamantly reached out to the State Department of Education, and I have asked them for a more thorough guidance through critical race theory. I'm asking them for guidance, and I've been a little bit of a thorn in their side. I've asked them for guidance on their rubric. So every time you do an adoption curriculum, there is a rubric that makes sure that you have a balanced curriculum and it meets everything that Idaho code should have. And I'm asking them to update their curriculum or their rubric. What are you doing to give us guidance so that we don't have 115 school districts doing their own thing in the state? We have a little more guidance. And also having parental input with that. That's important.
Because I would, if, I don't know if you can suggest, because it seems to be by emails that constituents have sent to me, as well as even expressed tonight, this Pearson group that has authored and created the ReadyGen curriculum that we use, their goals and objectives that they have are very critical race theory aligned. And so if these standards are expressed via the goals and objectives of the adopted curriculum, it's you know what I mean? It seems like that is pretty plain in
We've
play.
reached out to Pearson.
Okay.
And they said no.
That's
there.
not what.
Right. Okay. But But please recognize that their mission statement and probably what they're talking to is in November of 2021, and we have a copyright of 2016. And I'm not saying we don't have work to do and review to do, but it's not negligence on anybody's part other than following the process and trying to put, an ELA program that also includes social studies. So.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if that is, we're fine with the reading of the first reading on that, I will move
Sure.
on to the second.
And this is a new
is
board policy
24-25.
to Lake Pend Oreille School District, and call it parental rights. And again, I'm just going to try to highlight, and what we tried to do is combine all of the parents' rights into one place under one policy, rather than, because most of these parent rights were back in Idaho Code from 2015. There was legislation put in there with an addition to the new code that was just put in last April. So a lot of this isn't new, but we just didn't have it in one place. So we're trying to listen to the stakeholders, trying to make it easy. So the Board of Trustees encourages parents and guardians to be involved in their students' school activities and academic progress. The board is mandated to adhere to laws, rules, and regulations, including the Constitution of the State of Idaho, the rules of the Idaho State Board of Education, the rules and regulations of the Idaho State Department of Education, the laws, rules, and regulations of the federal government of the U.S. Department of Education, as well as educational provisions outlined in Idaho Code. These mandates include the requirement stated in Article 4, Section 1 of the Idaho Constitution, that is the duty
Article
of the
9,
sorry,
Section
duty of the legislator of Idaho to maintain a general, uniform, and thorough system of public, free, common schools. And then, so what I've highlighted here, and you've had this in your packet, but students, parents, or guardian has the right to reasonable academic accommodation. Okay, so that's one of the rights that's in here. There's much more in here. If the accommodation does not substantially impact district staff and resources. So it's within reason, but the parents have the right to be asking for an academic accommodation within reason, and it's got the wording there. Moving down, parents and guardians would like to request academic accommodation. The appropriate avenue for the parent or guardians is to first seek to address such concerns through the communication with their child's teacher, and then it goes on through building administrator. A parent or guardian who has an objection to their child's participation in the district's adopted curriculum and or district's implementation of practices, policies, and procedures in accordance with educational mandates on the basis that it harms the child or impairs the parent's firmly held beliefs, values, or principles may withdraw their child from the activity, class, or program. A parent or guardian who chooses not to have their child participate in the provided educational activity, with the exception of sex education curriculum, because that's a different, in a different place, shall be responsible for identification and provision of non-disruptive alternative education activities for their child during any time of objection at no cost to the district. Access to learning materials. Parents and guardians are entitled to review all learning materials, instructional materials, and other teaching aids used in the classroom of their students. Parent or guardians can request access to learning materials by contacting their child's teacher and or school administration during school hours. And then this is the new Idaho Code. The district shall comply with Idaho Code 321014, which states that at no time shall the existence of any order, proclamation, or declaration issued pursuant to Chapter 6 or 10, Title 46 Idaho Code be considered essential to further a compelling government interest to justify forced medication on a child, forced removal of a child from a home, or violation of or interference with the parent's fundamental and established rights protected by the Idaho Parental Right Act. So basically, from the research I've done per Idaho Code, these are the parental rights put into one policy that they have here. So the bottom line is the new one that was just passed last April, and talking with legal, they felt that the one that's called emergency order here, they felt that just putting this in its entirety of how it's written was important.
So I have a question for you,
Yes.
just procedurally. Is it possible to, before we actually vote on this, put it out in a survey and ask
For input?
parent input?
If the board would like me to, absolutely.
I don't know, it would just add a layer of feedback on it without binding us to doing everything we hear, but it would allow us one other layer of community input, maybe before it's finalized.
Can you elude a little bit more of what you were thinking? What would you like to see?
I don't want to draft the
you...
questions.
No, I would draft the questions, but I would like
I'm
to
sorry.
know maybe the format of what you were thinking.
Well,
I mean, I
we've
could
had
send
some
this in its entirety.
success.
Please read this, and then just an
So it's
open-ended question.
specifically parental rights. So we're
Right.
specifically talking about students' parents
Mhm.
rather than,
Right. Yeah.
well, most of us are parents of students, but like right now I'm not.
Right.
Mine are all graduated out. So my thought is, could it go out to our email base as a
To our parents, yeah.
survey? I don't know if we use SurveyMonkey. What is the last one we used? A survey something.
We can use SurveyMonkey.
SurveyMonkey.
Where you have just a handful of questions that ask, but the content of this is there.
I would think that maybe just open-ended then, or just to give me feedback. Just
Yeah.
give comments of what you, yeah, I mean, because I
Yeah,
don't
right.
think asking
I don't think you want to
specific
dial down to
questions,
specific
that might be hard.
house. You know, I agree.
I was just
Yes.
going to say, because I mean, there's a lot of smart people out there that might be able to recognize something that we missed or
Sure.
want to have a suggestion or whatnot. You know, I think it would be really helpful to have the parents look over what we're saying their rights are.
Sure.
You know,
I just, again, will caution the board that I'm a firm believer in following Idaho code.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that, you know, we could get some parents to say, well, I would like to have the right
This,
to,
right,
not,
No, I
and if
agree.
it goes against Idaho code, then I think then that, it's just
right.
something that is important that and if we don't like Idaho code, there is a process. We contact our representatives, we contact our senators, and we ask them to make some changes, and that's how the process. I know it's slow, and sometimes, but I think it's.
No, I'm in agreement with you about we follow Idaho code. We have an obligation to, and it states it right in here.
I would love to see it go to public comment, and just the more feedback, the more people that have eyes on it. And just, it doesn't have to be real complex. I mean, you could put something like, does this address concerns you might have? If not, why not? Or
Yeah.
just real basic, but I think, I mean, it's very well written. It has everything that you need to have from what I can see. Meets I love where you have the bottom where you can have a reference of all the codes. I mean,
Right.
I
And
think that's
every
key.
one of our district policies has that, all the reference.
It's fabulous. But I would love to see anything that we can do to have more public comments. Good.
Yeah.
So, Clerk Fisher, what would be an appropriate way for me to share the results of the survey with the board?
After the survey results, after they're collected, I could export out, I mean, potentially we could have hundreds of comments.
Right.
So,
Sure. It's the kind of thing that everything's a long answer.
yeah.
But it would be good then for you to have
We
those
would all need to review it.
comments so that it could help guide the discussion on the second reading?
Right.
Would that be
Yes.
appropriate? Okay.
I think. if I-
I know it may lengthen this approval process, but I think it's worth doing
It's
it
important.
before it's approved,
Yeah.
rather than after. Yes.
I just want to reiterate, like, we need to make sure that our constituents know that we
Going to be adhering to code.
tie policy to code. And that's the whole point of having this new code in here is there's obviously also some very smart, educated people that are establishing that. And they're putting a broad brushstroke in there. You know, my worry is that we're going to get comment back that says, I want this or I want that. And we can't do that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And at that stage, that's an okay answer to that request.
Okay.
It's not allowed by code. But I also think that maybe there could be a leading statement that says,
Absolutely.
you know, this board of trustees is bound by Idaho code, and here's the cross references. Please use that maybe as your gauge to
That's a good idea.
your comments, so that they're not just
Yeah.
fully out there in left field, which they may be anyway, which is all right.
I did
Yes.
have one more question, and I don't know, maybe someone can enlighten me here. This paragraph under emergency orders where it says at no time shall the existence of any order, proclamation, or declaration issued pursuant to Chapter 6 or 10, Title 46, and it continues on. Am I reading it right that it's saying no proclamation, declaration can be given unless it's, conforming to that Chapter 6 and 10, Title 46? So under those chapters and titles, it supersedes parental rights? Is that what that means?
I would have to get clarification on that.
Because
I will do some research on that.
It seemed to me that it read that way, that if under those chapters and titles, when the governor can declare martial law, quote, or whatever those are,
Or state disaster preparedness.
right, that would supersede parental rights in that case.
I didn't read it that way.
Is that not what that means?
My interpretation was that no order will ever take parental rights, these parental rights away, of making forced medical action on a child, forced removal of a child from a home, or violation or interference of fundamental established rights protected by the parental rights.
So I
get
might just be a
clarification.
little, confused. So if it's something you can get clarification, that'd be helpful for me.
It is worded a little, it's a little complicated legally, but I think exactly what he's saying, that at no time do these 3 basic rights get overturned, even by Chapter 6, which concerns martial law and active duty, or Chapter 10, state disaster preparedness, even those 2. So, yes, you could maybe come back with some language to explain here. However, we probably don't want to tamper with the wording of this, but a clarification verbally would be helpful. Yes.
Trustee Decker has already found a clerical error. It is in the second paragraph of the
English teacher
policy. So it was just
Where
an error.
was it?
It's the last line. It says add, and it should be and.
And Tom,
So I will
it's correct
fix
on yours
that.
on the screen.
It is.
It's correct here.
I was like, I have it correct in my hand. I just printed it out today. What do you have?
So in
Somebody fixed it already.
Somebody
after this
fixed
was
it already.
printed?
After your copy, she fixed it because I
Maybe she
printed
just
this out
said
right
you,
before
the
I
one
came.
that had the mistakes.
No,
She embeds a
Testing
few.
She wanted to know if you were paying attention.
Testing me, yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you catching that so that my copy was clean. Are there any other comments on this first reading? Yes.
I would like to make the comment that a policy involving parental rights, I think we really should be bound to have their input on it.
Thank you. Thank you. And as I say, it will slow it down a little bit, but not, it's for good cause. So I think with that, we could move on to, is there anything else, Superintendent, on these 2 first readings? Then with that, we'll move on to announcements. If you would like to open, and then we have some administrators here.
It wasn't on the agenda, so I'm just going to put it in announcements. We're just, watching illnesses within schools, doing the very best we can. We hope that we can keep our staff intact, and so far so good. With the weather tonight, again, last week was a very disappointing week for me, and having to call school with weather. Kids maybe enjoyed it, but I didn't. And with the rain tonight and some of the side roads on buses, it may be another early morning discussion with the transportation department. I see he's texting me right now. So
I love getting those early morning text messages.
We will have to see. And then I believe on a positive note, there is a play production going on at Sandpoint High School, Willy Wonka, and I believe Clerk Fisher sent you email if you would like to partake in that, that Jeannie Hunter would give you complimentary tickets. So.
Thank you. I did see that. Are there announcements from administrators here? 2 of you have already spoken. Do you have other
I
announcements?
can speak again.
Oh.
Anybody wants to drive safely out to Clarkport, we're playing Knox, and it's a pretty good rivalry. Varsity starts at 7:30.
Get on it.
Tonight?
Yeah, tonight.
Just saying. And
Just
then
saying.
the other thing, I already said it, Friday, anybody and everybody is welcome to come and see what's happening with our experiential tracks and the senior presentations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
I just
Principal
wanted
Grenier.
to reiterate what Ms. Schreiber talked about too, is we sent our first week of ski and ride shows up to Schweitzer, and 140 of them participated, and it was just really awesome. Schweitzer reached out to us to congratulate us on how well behaved and how impressed they were with our students who were up there, and I thought that was really awesome for the company to reach out to us specifically to thank us for the kids that we set up. And this year we were able to offer scholarships for the first time this year, and we've already doubled our scholarship fund for next year with the hope that we get more local kids who wouldn't have experience before to go up. So it was a good first outing, and hopefully they get to go tomorrow. So.
Yeah.
Carrie, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's the dollar amount that you need to put a kid through that program?
It's about 300 per kiddo.
300 per?
Right now. And we do have there's some other companies reaching out to us who actually provided a bunch of our kids who didn't have the gear. We got goggles, jackets, and pants this year too. And that was all, I think, $20 for a kid completely outfitted in head to toe.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yes, we're moving around.
I'm Kelly Knowles, I'm the principal at Kootenai Elementary, and we have just started a really cool program. We partnered with the Croc Center out of Coeur d'Alene, and every other Wednesday they send volunteers, adult volunteers, to our school, and they spend our entire lunch recess, so from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and they play games on the playground with the kids. And it has been, we were kind of wondering how it would go. We get 100% participation in every grade level. They even came last week and played a game in the snow. Adults were running through the snow with the kids. It's our favorite day of the week when they come because everybody's really focused after that. It's just been a really cool thing that the Croc Center reached out to us in Sandpoint, and that we're getting volunteers, positive adult volunteers coming to our school that don't have any connection to Kootenai. They don't have students in our school, which is what we normally get for volunteers. So these kids are making really good connections with adults that care about them in the community. And so we're really excited. They're talking about how much fun they're having, so we have more and more adult volunteers come every time, and we're kind of the pilot school, so they're hoping that they can expand into all the other elementary schools in the district. But
that's great.
If anybody wants to come on a Wednesday from 10 to 1, it's a really good time.
Not to, could I just ask, Mrs. Knowles, did we get the leak stopped in the gym roof? Sorry.
As of today, I went and checked the buckets, and there was no drips in the buckets.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to have to come with a towel, Mr. Albertson.
Okay.
Yeah, what a
right
rainy day problem. TJ.
Yeah,
and then
Southside, it's going great. We're having a lot of fun, lots of learning. Everybody's kind of just got their heads down right now. We're just working hard. We've got a couple field trips, Pine Street Woods. Kids get to learn how to cross-country ski, huge success. We have a fundraiser coming up in 28, Triple Play. So a bunch of families are going to come down there. So we just kind of have fun for fun and raise some money for that. And yeah, we're just having fun down there.
Great, thank you. Jackie.
Jackie Crossing Camera State Elementary. We just really want to extend our gratitude to the maintenance department for all the snow removal that has gone on over the last few days, and the huge berms that's outside, and keeping us warm. We've had a few classrooms with heater problems, and they've been very responsive to that. We've been very appreciative and hit the ground running with lots of learning, but also last Wednesday and Monday, the students were able to get outside and do some cross-country skiing around the playground, and so that's been a lot of fun, just all the happy little faces and exhausted little bodies as they come back in. So it's been a great few days here with Laura, and hopefully we get to enjoy some more snow before it all goes away. So.
Great. Is there anything from the administrative office?
I would just say that we have, like Sherry mentioned, we have the IRI and some MAP stuff going on, and for data geeks like us, that's exciting because then we can make some adjustments for kids to serve them as best as we can. So that's exciting for us at the district office.
Great. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah.
Anything else? Nope. I think I caught everybody. So with that, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.